Welcome, folks. This is Acid Root. So I'm going to review Epic, the 2010 album by Blood on the Dance Floor. Now, this is a pretty mammoth album. This is going to take kind of a bit of work to kind of get accomplished. There are 10 singles on here. There was a lot of promotion for this project and a lot of talk that kind of went along with it. So I'm going to kind of get towards this. So the thing about this album was originally going to be called OMFG, which stands for Oh My Fucking God, and it was supposed to come out in 2009, but what wound up happening is Davi Vanity kind of got arrested for sexual assault in 2009, and the band member that was with him at the time, Garrett Ecstasy, kind of went astray. He made an album called like Boy Talks Trash, which I reviewed last summer, so you can find that if you look for it. And in replacement for that, he wound up finding Javon Monroe, who became like the screamo vocals. And I want to say that he has some rap vocals on here. I want to say that there are some verses that don't really sound like Davi. And considering the things that are said, I kind of feel like I think Javon kind of has some verses on this album. This is a pretty tough album to get a hold of. It costs $50 to get, and it's, it pretty much puts it at more than $3 or $4 per song, just because there's 21 songs on here, one skit, 21 songs. So Blood on the Dance Floor is hard enough to get on CD as it is, but you kind of look at the concept behind it, and like there was some stuff like Jeffree Star was originally supposed to be on here, but they scrapped those songs, and apparently there's like a deluxe edition of Epic that has even more songs than the stuff on here. This album is really packed to the gills, and it really feels like it barely made like the 80-minute time frame for the girth of what a CD can hold. But apparently there's even more songs than that. So there's just plenty to really talk about on here. It's an excellent album. This album's definitely going to get a high score. And if you're looking for something that just has complete festeringly good club records, rave records, dance club records, like drag records, that type of stuff. There's plenty of moments for kind of high octane and kind of festive kind of bouts out and kind of the vibe. I mean, this whole album lives like it's like Friday and Saturday, the only days of the week, and there's no problem with that whatsoever. I have to say that's normally what I'm clamoring for when I look for albums, and that's kind of the concept. That's kind of the concept about it, is just the point to what happens. So you would look after it and you would say, well, how are there 10 singles and what kind of goes along with that? So the main thing about it is they have been promoting this record since the fall of 2009, and it came out in the fall of 2010. So a lot of the promotion towards it really happened. I'm glad that all the singles for the most part kind of showed up on here, and it just kind of feels like this is kind of the album that almost got their foot in the door. This is kind of where they started making more headway beyond just kind of being underground and kind of more low key. Like I feel like it's hard to be a diamond in a rhinestone world, and Let's Start a Riot we're kind of there, but I think that they probably just would have been like one shots, maybe not one shots, but just kind of something that may not have completely broke the headway. But I think this album was probably found for a while in Hot Topic and alternative stores like that and those type places. I definitely want to say that this is the album. All the Rage wound up being a bigger album, but I say that this was definitely the revolutionary album that kicked it off. There's just so much stuff, and Javon was like the perfect fit for this group. And I really feel like the attachment, that the chemistry that they wound up having lasted, and it's just a shame that Blood on the Dance Floor could not get to like the regular charts and kind of do it, because on the dance side of things, like on like the rhythmic, or I don't know what charts they wound up getting to, but I want to say like Madonna, for example, she was always kind of in just like the dance music charts. And I'm surprised that a number of the singles here did not reach those charts, the kind of rhythmic and those type records that like Tech Nine and some of those folks typically reach. Because I do feel like they were probably lower key than Tech Nine at the time, but then they kind of worked. I mean, on the internet, these guys were sensational. Songs like Sexting, songs like Horrifically Delicious, and songs like Death to Your Heart all happen to really be smash hits on the internet and really kind of be something for word of mouth and that kind of talking about and that type of stuff. So they were quite popular in 2010 and early 2011 and 2009. It's just kind of the concept that it's just too bad that they didn't have the singles that broke them into like the national markets and to where they could get more music videos and more guests and that type of stuff. But what it is, they're an internet sensation, definitely alternative music sensation. They just were overall great with rave music and things of that magnitude, and just anything for Friday, Saturday, Thursday night, stepping out and that type of stuff. So that's definitely kind of the thing. But the 10 singles, we'll go ahead and talk about these. The first single is Horrifically Delicious. This one is kind of entry. Like, I feel like the first single and the 10th single are kind of the ones that are kind of more entry. This just kind of has like a regular kind of club bop sounding to it. Not quite rave yet, but I do like the energy of this song. Like, Horrifically Delicious really has like this kind of smooth, kind of up tempo kind of feel towards it, but the energy is not quite as crazy as some of the later singles. I would definitely have to say I like the kind of auto-tune-ish kind of sing-songy hook in there. I definitely kind of feel like that's a nice one. Definitely reminds me of Jeffree Star and stuff like that. I would have to say some of those folks. I can't really think of too many folks besides Jeffree Star at this point, but it definitely does have like a real nice kind of. I'm surprised that these songs just got ignored the way that they did, because these are definitely excellent, and this is like a real easy song to kind of dance to, and these are just perfect. Like, I would almost recommend these songs to just be played a straight night through it, like a dance club or a rave or something like that. It's just that effectual in terms of how that kind of happens. Like, we need to kind of switch out, like, no offense to Beyonce, songs like Beyonce Crazy in Love, songs like Beyonce Crazy in Love, and songs like Justin Timberlake My Love, and those type songs. We need to switch some of those out, switch some of those songs out, and put Horrifically Delicious in there, and Inject Me Sweetly and Success is the Best Revenge, because it really would work pretty well. Success is the Best Revenge is the second single, and this one is even quicker than like Horrifically Delicious. Definitely like the energy behind it, and it just really gets kind of crazy. I would definitely recommend that song. It's just kind of a 1-2 punch. These are two great singles that work extremely well. And then if you like the energy of those two singles, the third single, Sexting, is really crazy. I really like the Pac-Man sample in there. Just they did that extremely well, and it kind of works as like this, the emphasis behind incorporating a video game into it and then not losing like the edge or not being too soft or something like that. It just really kind of goes crazy, and they really have like a good topic of sexual texting, sexting, that type stuff, and just kind of saying that it just really carries like a pretty high course energy. That one's just like a jolt of energy the whole way through. I just would have to say that really kind of has just like a bolt of lightning, just how quick that song is. If you don't get excited for that song, I mean, I think you would need a pulse check if this song doesn't excite you, just because it just has like really rave energy. This is one of the most electric songs on the album. Definitely an excellent song. I think this is one of Blood on the Dance Floor's most popular songs. This works extremely well, and this has a lot of feel good, kind of bravado, triumphant kind of feels towards it. And plus, the energy is just off the meter. That's kind of the thing about Sextain. Inject Me Sweetly kind of takes it back to Success is the Best Revenge. It was good to see that they have like multiple singles for kind of like a high octane kind of energy, and this is kind of an album that I think can get you through much of the night. I just feel like for what it is, this is just packed to the gills with like particular kind of high octane energy and just dance club cuts, and I think this one is actually kind of a rave one. Yeah, I would definitely say that Inject Me Sweetly gets high octane enough to where that would be a rave song, and I feel like Success is the Best Revenge is kind of like that one also. So they just have, like, if you're thinking, oh, this is just a dance club or a club type record, it has a lot in here. Some of these can be drag, some of these can be rave. It just is like they're interchangeable. That's just how good that this project winds up being, is there's enough interchangeability towards it that you're gonna find like more than 3 or 4 or 5 or 6 songs even that kind of are meant for just going out. I mean, it really just doesn't even know what a Monday is, I would kind of have to say. This kind of happens to be the concept. Candyland kind of narrows the energy back down a bit, but it still is a dance club kind of song. This one's just kind of a lot more like commercial and kind of more like pop sounding. This one kind of was trying to aim for like more of like maybe typical charts. I would have said that this one, horrifically I keep screwing that phrase up. Candyland, Horrifically Delicious, and Death to Your Heart all kind of are more, and then maybe I'm What Dreams Are Made Of, or like the ones that kind of aim, like I think would have had more of like a commercial type feel, and would have been the ones that could have broke even and kind of been like Justin Bieber and like Selena Gomez type vibes that they had gotten there. But it's just these guys are pretty alternative. I don't know why they weren't able to ever chart and get to that point, but they did make attempts. And I definitely feel like if you're looking for something that's kind of popish, I feel like Candyland is pretty close to that. I mean, the lyrics are pretty raunchy, but I still feel like for what it is, it's still a pretty excellent pop electronic kind of single. Pop electronic is not really too common to say, but pop electronic's kind of what it is. And I'm What Dreams Are Made Of is very similar to that song. It just has the same typical I'm What Dreams Are Made Of is kind of pop also, but I really feel like these are kind of electronic pop in a lot of ways. It just kind of has like this one reminds me of something Jeffree Star would do, very similar to the stuff off of Beauty Killer. Like Javon and Davi in some instances kind of sound extremely similar to Jeffree Star when he kind of has like that kind of sprawling kind of choruses that he does and that electronic kind of real kind of alternative kind of pitch to him. So it'll give you vibes of Jeffree Star in there and folks like him. I can't like maybe God's Paparazzi is another one that's kind of like that, but just that type angle and stuff. And then Lose Control. This one's a pretty raunch club song. This one takes it to like a club, not just like a dance club. But this one really kind of has like a club type feel. And I like that they switched up the beat in the second verse, and it kind of has an interesting pitch towards it that kind of tries some new stuff in there. It's yeah, I mean it works to the extreme of being able to do it, and really comes off as like a slicker kind of club song and that type stuff. You Done Goofed. This is the only single that I didn't enjoy out of the 10 of them, and I feel like it said on Wikipedia that the lyrics from You Done Goofed were used against Davi in his court case against like the Jesse Slaughter cyberbullying. I'm not going to really. That's not how I want the direction of the review to kind of go. I know it was kind of a bad situation, but I just think Davi probably shouldn't have made that song and just shouldn't. I don't know. It just didn't seem like one that would be something I would mess with. It's not really a dance club, any type of night venue type song. It just kind of it compared to the other 9 singles on this project, it just has like a completely different kind of energy about it. Didn't really enjoy it that much. But Party On, this one kind of has like a more sprawling kind of feel towards it, and yeah, Party On kind of has like an EDM type feel in there, so it's good to kind of get that stuff. They were kind of Blood on the Dance Floor kind of had the heads up on what was going on and like what would happen in 2011 with stuff like Pitbull and Linkin Park, what they would do with Recharged and Flo Rida and some of that type stuff, and David Guetta. So it's good to kind of get that kind of craziness 2011 EDM type feel. And then Death to Your Heart, the 10th single. Basically, this one sounds like the most commercial and radio ready. I think apart from Horrifically Delicious and Candyland, I say that Death to Your Heart is the most radio ready. This one is still kind of in the dance club. Like there was a music video that came out for Death to Your Heart, and I definitely feel like this one is probably I'm glad that there was a music video for this because this is the kind of expression the songs that I would have made music videos for would have been Horrifically Delicious, Sexting, and Death to Your Heart. I definitely think that they should have promoted those pretty damn well. I mean, the rest of the singles kind of have some edge to them, and they are definitely rave hits and that type of stuff. I think that those would have been the ones with the most commercial appeal. Sexting is definitely a real high octane kind of rampant energy kind of highlight. Horrifically Delicious is a great album kickoff and just kind of carries what Blood on the Dance Floor is about and what they should be about. And then Death to Your Heart is kind of like a dance club kind of number that just has the right energy and the right kind of feel towards it. And I definitely think that just works as to how that goes. This has a real interesting pitch. I'd say that it's commercial. I mean, they at least tried to promote it and see what could happen from it. But from what I've seen, and Jackal Goldkick has kind of said also that Blood on the Dance Floor didn't really have that many music videos. But just to kind of say, it's interesting kind of see the promotion for this project because 9 out of 10 of these singles I would mess with. And the whole situation about it is there's actually more than 2 or 3. I would at least say Horrifically Delicious, Sexting, and Death to Your Heart all have like that kind of real commercial kind of bop to them on top of that, just to kind of say that these are some of the ones that break even the most. But there's just many. If you're looking for stepping out, any of the singles really for the most part, minus You Done Goofed, work. That just kind of happens to be a thing. So it's just kind of crazy. This is a pretty rave album, I just would have to say. So yeah, that took a long time to do, but just to kind of sum this project up, Basically, the only 4 songs out of 21 that I didn't really enjoy, to talk about the songs I recommend, were just Believe, Sluts Get Guts, You Done Goofed, and Innocent High. So Innocent High was just kind of like this kind of raunchy, kind of school type song, this kind of sexy school like lyrics, talking about that type of stuff, like raunchy school type lyrics, just, schoolboy, schoolgirl kind of fantasies, that type of stuff. Wasn't really digging that one too much. Believe is like the only song on the whole album that's basically not a club bop or some sort of rave bop in some sort of way. I'm glad that there was only one song like this, but I still didn't enjoy this one. I'm glad, but that's pretty awesome that 20. That's pretty awesome that 20 out of 21 songs are dedicated to dance clubs and that type of stuff. So definitely have to say that. Sluts Get Guts was kind of an awkward horrorcore song, and then I guess there's another song that's not a dance club. The You Done Goofed isn't one either, but that one's just kind of talking about the problems he had or something like that. So I just didn't appreciate that one. Didn't really appreciate the Sluts Get Guts because it was just kind of odd, that horrorcore type sounding one. I mean, that one was kind of a rave type one, but I didn't. It's kind of odd seeing Blood on the Dance Floor try to do horrorcore. I don't know what I thought of that. It didn't seem like that's kind of their shtick, but so yeah, that's kind of the concept. So this album's going to get a 10 out of 10. This would have to say it's a 10 out of 10. Me liking basically 17 out of 21 songs. That's not going to happen too much. It's up there with albums like Eminem's Relapse Refill, Dr. Dre's 2001. This records like that, Ludacris's Red Light District, some of those type records that just are, rave the whole way through and just work. And really, this album really has like just basically almost perfect pitch, basically perfect pitch of just having like a complete tour de force the whole way through of just rave kind of hits that just are perfect energy, real fun, kind of goes out, weekend induced, real kind of a mastery of electronic and just social electronic kind of vibes. Definitely would have to say that the excellence is definitely top notch on here and is something to be said. The only real weakness I could knock this album for is just you would think that the lyrics are almost kind of slapstick and almost like parody of themselves just because of how simple they kind of are. But I don't really think that that's much of a complaint. I kind of reach a point where I just don't know why, kind of questionable lyrics would be a reason to say that the music is bad, because you have to pay attention to it. Like for folks that are going to bars often and are routinely dancing out there with women and that type stuff and having nightclub life and that sort of stuff, the only real thing that you would have to say is if you just kind of like, wow, that was kind of a cheeky lyric or something like that, or that's kind of questionable. That's about the only real thing that should kill your vibe as far as trying to vibe to this album, because really the energy is just at a high octane bit that just really goes balls to the wall in terms of being able to be entertaining. So that's just kind of the concept about it. It really has that. The social score is going to get a 10 also. Just would have to say, like, more than 12 songs, more than 14 songs on here have that nightlife kind of vibe towards it, and these are recommended to your friends. I mean, if you're looking for like number ones and that type of stuff, I would have to say Death to Your Heart and Sexting are at least two that kind of have that immediate kind of energy. And then also, I would have to say Horrifically Delicious is another one. But you shouldn't be looking wholesomely to Blood on the Dance Floor for like number one songs, because they're already alternative and that's kind of in that vibe. So there's not going to be like the songs that are like My Love by Justin Timberlake or Candy Shop by 50 Cent that are just number one songs that stay there for like 5 or 6 weeks, something like that. I mean, this is definitely something that you recommend and you say, hey, do you know about this album? And then you just have like a couple rave months, just of course from burning the album out and listening to it. So that's just kind of the thing. Definitely would have to say if the 10 singles as I talked about them was kind of patchy, is just because I had to remember what each of these 10 songs was like. This has kind of been the biggest album in terms of singles I've had to do, and I've kind of been wondering about reviewing this project for about 8-9 months now, as far as trying to how to get this done and that type of stuff. I tried to do it to the best of memory that could be pitched towards it, as far as trying to get this out and just go through 10 singles and remember the each type feels of every one of them, especially having just recently acquired this album. So that's just kind of the thing. 10s across the board, definitely worth it. In terms of the future, like the last Blood on the Dance Floor album, I think was Hollywood Death Star, that came out in 2019, but Davi can't really put out albums anymore because he can't make money off his music because of the problems he's had. But Javon, I don't know what's happened to him. And this is kind of like, I mean, there's plenty of Blood on the Dance Floor albums. I'm definitely going to do All the Rage soon, but that's kind of the concept about it. So yeah.